Let's talk about you. Your business is offering legal help and advice. But when do your target market, your customers, actually need legal advice? I'd have thought when they were buying one of these. Yep. And if they were signing contracts, setting up a new, maybe when these start appearing. Certainly if your partner starts disappearing. If this happened, especially if you ended up looking like this. And because you never know what's around the corner, you always need a will. I sort of really meant these kind of wills. I guess you kind of need to constantly get up-to-date legal advice as and when things change, which is pretty often, given the rapid pace of modern lives. Well, our radio stations reach people at all of these times in their lives, right throughout their working career. But there's another reason that Dan Thompson from Warner Goodman particularly likes our audiences.
Every time we advertise on the radio, we see a spike and an increase in the number of people who contact us. I think equally important to us, being able to have a captive audience, perhaps people driving to work or driving home from work at the end of the day. That captures people not only perhaps who have car accidents, but also people who've had accidents at work. We're aware that a lot of local industry allow radio to be broadcast in the workplace.
Perceptive Dan highlights that commercial radio listeners, who are, after all, your potential customers, have a very unique relationship with their radio. They wake up to radio in the morning. It follows them in on their morning commute. A substantial number have it on at work. They listen to it on their way home and even relax to it at evenings and weekends. And this accounts for the spike effect that Dan noticed. Advertising on radio enables Dan to reach a captive audience whose lives are constantly changing, and some of that change will require legal advice. There will be people driving home tonight thinking, was my boss right to put me on performance management today, or does he just want me out? And then they hear your name in the next ad break. And there'll be people driving into work tomorrow thinking, we discussed a trial separation last night, but if I walk out, does that imply wrongdoing on my part? And then they hear your name. Radio enables you to create a trusted brand and then reach listeners when their lives change. But we know you're going to be nervous and maybe you've not considered radio before. It might seem like a whole world away from what you usually do. So last word to Mark Pierce from Boyce Hatton. He was in your position. He sat right where you are now, perhaps erring on the side of caution about all this radio advertising malarkey.
When we first started using the radio, I was extremely nervous. It was a new venture for this practice, and solicitors do have a conservative reputation, surprisingly enough, and advertising on radio was, in my view, a fairly unusual decision, but one which we have not regretted. And I would say that it's the persistence of advertising. You will not get quick results immediately. You have to be persistent and build a relationship to get your brand message across. I would gladly recommend Hart to any other business. I think that they are a good organisation. They're very approachable, and they've got a very loyal client in Boyce Hatton.
Now, we know that often you need to clear decisions with your firm's partners, and if that's the case, do let us know if you want us to present to them as well. Our all-time record is a room of 42 partners in one go. Best wishes and thanks for listening.